Thanos will have that stone.
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons.
All right, g'day, and welcome to Comics Mate, your mates in comics from the land down under. I'm Dean James, and today I'm here with my special guest host, Aldous. Say hello, mate.
Hey, how we doing, guys? Thanks for having me on, Dean.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I figured, I sent out a tweet the other week, and I was saying that I'm going to try and do these comics that I actually enjoy videos more often, and I'm thinking I'll have a rotating guest host every time, so you get a massive variety of books. Yeah, and I had a few people respond to those, so I'll eventually go through that entire list. And yeah, hopefully we can turn this into a series where we actually be a bit more positive on this channel, because this is my attempt at being positive, instead of just shitting on everything, because these are things that I genuinely do love.
Right. Well, I think there's a balance to be had. I mean, I personally, over on the gutter, one of the things, you were on the show back when we talked some Howard Chaykin.
Yeah.
I want to talk about stuff I love, but what I've found is that it's just as important to offer fair and balanced criticism on the things that are out there that are bad, especially new stuff. If it's coming out, man, and I've got access to it, I'll do a review of it, because I'd much rather give everybody my take on it and show you some of what I'm talking about if it's not worth your time, so you don't waste your time on it, because time's at an extraordinarily valued commodity these days. And I'd much rather you spend your time looking at something awesome like the stuff we're going to talk about today, rather than something that's just marginal that's out on the shelves now. So
Yeah, exactly. And I've said before, there's I've said it many times on this channel that, as long as you don't just shill for everything, like that's when I tune out entirely. I don't like the drama or anything either, but like when you go to review channels and they're just always super positive, I get turned off of that as well. It's like, be honest, man. Like, I don't want to hear your thoughts just so you can stay on the inside and get the free tickets to the movies and things like that. Like, tell me if something is good and tell me if something is bad, because I would rather know beforehand.
Oh, exactly. Actually, one of the things on my list, actually, there's two on my list that, man, I think they're great. Most people hate them, so it's
Well, no, everything you've ever recommended to me, I've actually really enjoyed. Like, I've got a couple of things on my shelf right now, and I know the list that you're putting in there today. There's a couple of them that I'd actually heard of already and have on my tablet and things. Like, I don't actually own any of them physically, unfortunately. But I've read some of the ones that you're going to talk about. For the first time ever, you recommended something that I'd actually heard of. So, yeah, exciting.
Yeah, my recommendations usually drift towards the esoteric, but on this, I tried to pick some newer stuff so that it was a little bit easier for people to find, because I know some people have complained, like, yeah, that's great, it looks beautiful, but I can't buy it. So
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of the things, because like I know specifically you, there is like older things that you really enjoy that, the whole reason I've never even heard of them is because they were so old. And it's like, well, are these even in print anymore? But, like I've actually got like one of my things on my list today is actually pretty old too. Like everybody knows Bernie Wrightson. I've got a specific thing from Bernie Wrightson that, like that I've put into this list today because I know that you can buy a collected trade paperback of it and it's not very expensive. But we'll
Right.
get to that when we get to that. But yeah, let's just jump right into it, yeah, and we'll get going
Yeah,
on
man.
all these things and we'll have a look. Do you want to go first? Because you have more than I do. You have 10 and I have 8, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So, my first, this is a series that is absolutely near and dear to my heart. This is something that I got into a little late, and man, only about 4 years ago actually completed my full run on, and that is Sandman Mystery Theater by Matt Wagner for the majority of the run, and then also written by Steve Siegel. The pencils and the inks had a lot of people coming in and out of the book, but for those early issues, it was Guy Davis, man, and just they were
Awesome.
the pages were grandiose in their structure, and Guy has this
There we go.
fantastic method with his line work that there's a violence to his line and it seems to just etch right into the page, and it's just they're absolutely beautiful. And then the covers for this entire run, most of them were done by Gavin Wilson and Richard Burning. it they're just it invokes this it invokes the era, and this is set in the 30s, and it's a classic take, more of a noir take on the traditional golden age Sandman character brought forward. And it does tie in with Neil Gaiman's Wesley Dodds, who plays the Sandman. He's actually in the first issue. If you've read the More Than Rubies series, there's a panel that shows Wesley Dodds as the Sandman in Golden Age, and that's what this is kind of playing off of. It's building that mythos, and it's a
Oh,
beautiful
nice.
one. It ran for 70 issues from April of '93 to February of '99, and with a single annual in September of '94. This is it's a hard one to find. Like I'm a with some things I'm a completist. Like I have to long box dive. I have to buy the physical issues. I did break down and I bought the last 2 issues I needed, like I said, a couple years ago off of online, just because they were towards the end the circulation got to be so low. It's just really hard to find them in the wild. But yeah, I love this series. Each couple issues is broken up into storylines. So you'll get like 3 to 5 issue arcs that are
Nice.
conceptualized stories. And so you can kind of just jump in at any time. And as long as it's the start of one of those storylines, you can just follow it right along and you don't have to read them in sequence or anything. So it's just a great series. I think it's Matt Wagner at his absolute peak outside of Grendel. And it's got a great atmosphere. And sadly, it's underread. A lot of people just aren't familiar with it. It's overshadowed by Gaiman's Sandman.
Yeah, well, like obviously I'd heard of Sandman before. I'm a big fan of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, but like I knew who this guy was. I recognize him from things. Like I was well aware of the Sandman's existence, but me neither. I'd never actually read any of these. But you got here it is. Yeah, you got one of the pages
Yeah,
from the
and
interiors. Yeah.
this kind of shows you the feel. And this is the first time in the first issue that you really see the Sandman, Wesley in his full getup. And it's a slow burn story. It is more of a reader's book than a gape at the art book. And but the stories are fairly mature. The dialogue is fairly mature. This is
You know
something
what,
that,
man? I
man.
would like I like this art, like especially this panel up the top here. That looks
Oh, I'm not saying
fantastic.
no, I
And
mean,
then
it's
this one
Guy
at the
Davis,
bottom.
man. This
Oh,
is the guy that drew the marquee for Caliber. We're talking skill, high skill level, very talented. I'm saying it's not this because this is of era, right? It's in the
yeah,
90s. But what you're not seeing here is the dynamicism that you see with like the Image boom or with what Marvel was doing with Punisher and X-Men. It's a very
right.
gritty, grounded art style. It's not something that you're gonna oogle like you do those. It's a very different, more muted book. It's a grounded book. And the dialogue drives the story. But the art is high tier. and it really plays well with shadows. I feel sorry for the guys that inked this because these pages just had to be absolute bastards because they're so heavy in darkness. But it is a beautiful, beautiful series.
Yeah, well, like I'm glad that you mentioned the shadows, 'cause especially down at this bottom panel here, and this, these two bottom panels. Really, I love the way that they've done these shadows on his head. Like I've been trying to do that, incorporate that into my art more often. Which you won't see until the Embrace 2 comes out, really. But like I have such respect for inkers that can do that and not just have it look real messy. Because like these guys have got these lines, like just going straight down, and it doesn't. Like, what's the word? It doesn't take away from the thing. It doesn't distract you from the actual line of the solid character in there, and you can tell that that's not actually, like it's not a border or anything like that. It's a shadow, and like that's a very difficult and underrated thing to do.
Oh, for sure. And I think, I mean, like I said, some of the stories here are weaker than others in both art because it changes the personnel change on the book intermittently.
Right.
But if you can get those early issues with Guy Davis, you will not be disappointed. And like I said, they're affordable. You can get these issues in reader grade copy from most places online for like $2 to $4 an issue. If you're a fine grade guy and you want that perfect, you're going to be paying anywhere from like 5 to 8, depending on what they are. But
Oh, wow,
they're
that's not
easily
expensive at all.
affordable. And like I said, man, it's a 70 issue run that's in multi mini arcs. So if you just want to dive in, this has been collected in trades too. You can go out and you can grab the trades. The omnibus just came out. I do not recommend the omnibus simply because Patton Oswalt did a write up in the intro for it, and he is a shitty human being that I find not
Yeah,
funny.
yeah,
So I can't give my my recommendation to that, but I can give my
yeah. We give a lot
recommendation
of
to
shit
some
to
of the
Patton
trades.
Oswalt on here, so yeah, you're in the right place. But yeah, hold on. I forgot to say, I'll remove this from the screen. I actually forgot to say hello to the chat. So we'll say hello to the chat before I jump into my first
Yeah.
my first recommendation. But first person I can see, I don't know if it was the first comment, it's just the first person on my end, was Michaela Hermosa. Welcome. Good to see you. She has recommended me to do some more X-Men videos, and I am probably going to in the future because I got mauled in the comments by just some, pop culture tourists, as far as I'm concerned. Not a single one of them had anything to say other than, "Oh, you're just a bigot," or "You're just a homophobe," blah blah. It's like literally not what I was talking about, but whatever, guys. But yeah, so
Well,
I will be doing those in the future, Michaela.
insults are the dying man's, last resort. So they've got
Yeah,
nothing else.
yeah,
That's what they're
exactly.
going to go to.
Yeah, like I swear, like there's like 400 comments on one of the videos, right? And maybe 3 people out of the entire lot of them had anything to say that wasn't just, "Oh, fuck you, Dean." So, okay. Great, guys. But yeah, we also got Matthew in the chat, my little brother. G'day, mate. Good to see you. And we got Mo. Hail, Mo. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Always good to see
Early
Mo.
and surly. G'day, Ali. Thank you for joining us. And that's you. Felix. Hail, Felix. Bow. Good to see you, mate. And Snafu. Oh my god, you live. Why would I not be like I released a video just yesterday? Why would you think I'm not alive? What? Now you say the strangest things, Snafu. But welcome, guys. G'day, Ed. Good to see you, mate.
Hey,
Welcome. Who else we got? We got Angela. Hello, Angela. Always a
always good
pleasure
to see
having
Angela.
Angela in the chat. Henry's here. Guy Davis pages were gritty. They fit the theme of the book. Yeah, they were, man. They looked great.
Yeah, and Henry, you'll appreciate this, man. It was a hard. The marquee almost made on this list as well, but I felt like I was being given just I was gonna gush too much over Guy, and I love Guy Davis's art, but I wanted to thin it out a little bit and throw some variety on it. So, but it almost made it. It almost made it.
Right, yeah, no, I've deliberately avoided even this time, I'm not gonna bring any up either, but I've deliberately avoided things like Rocafort and Jim Lee because, like, well, I mean, there's one Jim Lee in this one, but, generally, I don't wanna do I don't wanna say the same thing over and over again because most of my comic collection is made up of, like, 6 artists. Honestly, like Greg Capullo, Brad Booth, Jim Lee, like, I've got all of these guys, and I've got, like, everything they've ever made. But Todd McFarlane,
Well, you better be
but
buying
yeah.
more Chaikin, man, or I'm gonna have to start
Yeah, I
sending you
should,
more
right?
Chaikin.
Yeah, either or. But they both work. I'll do both. Yeah, g'day, Adam. Thanks for joining us, mate. Good to see ya. Who else we got? The fierce, apathetic Black Queen. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you in ages. No, Ethan is... No, I'm not Ethan. I am Dean. Ethan was the frog. Fierce, apathetic Black Queen. Yeah, no, it was a... Because when we were playing Cuphead, she showed up and someone was like, hey, I didn't know Ethan was in this game. But yeah, no, I'm not Ethan. I'm Dean. But yeah, good to see you. From North Carolina. A place that I've only ever seen in the movies. G'day, Phil. Thanks for joining
Hey,
us, mate. Always a
always good
pleasure
to see
having
Phil.
Phil here. Our Luniverse, good to see you. Our Luniverse shows up in like all of my chats lately. You're a legend. Yeah, who else we got? Yeah, Patton Oswald. Why? He's the literal worst.
Oh, it's even worse, Allie. He also did the introduction to The Question, Denny O'Neill's The Question run, which is not on my
Why?
list. That's the thing I don't get. It's like they found one fat, semi-fucking funny guy and like, oh, we're just going to let him write all the introductions to all the good stuff from the 80s.
Yeah, like, and I mean, does he? Because I know him as an actor and things, you know, and like a quote unquote comedian. But has he ever actually written any comic book? Like, is there a reason that he would be the guy to be writing these intros, or
I
is he
think he
just
has.
a?
I know, my dude. Mrs. Aldous she's, in her early 40s, and she's gonna kill me if she hears me say that. And she's white, so she's of course into true crime. So I know more about Patton Oswalt murdering his wife than I do Patton Oswalt as a comedian or his comic book, writing credits. So I can't even tell you, man.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries that will just die with the ages, I guess. But yeah, Henry left a angry comment on one of my newest videos. I appreciate you, Henry. Angry or not, I appreciate the engagement, honestly. Literally, just do what Felix does and just type bow on like every video.
Everything
It's fine.
helps, man.
Yeah, every single bit helps. I've even had people just being like, comment for the algorithm. And I'm like, I appreciate you guys. You are awesome.
That's usually my go-to.
Yeah. Dean, where's the flames? No, this is a positive video. The flames only go on negative videos, okay? This is a positive video. But yeah, who else we got? Crazy Mad, the fucking treachery. Do you want the link, Crazy Mad? You can still come here because you are technically my co-host on this channel. You're welcome to come in, mate. But
Crazy
yeah,
Man's
you're the one.
always
He's talking about treachery. Hey, I straight up asked him, and he goes, "Oh, I've run out of comic books I actually like." Like, what the fuck, man? You can't like. Oh shit. That's actually my work phone. Do you want to ramble for a second while I answer this?
Yeah, sure, man. Well, Crazy, I disagree with you, man. You run out of comics that you can dude. There are always hours in a day where anybody can wax poetic about the art of Al Williamson. And when you talk about him, I mean, the first thing that comes up is obviously his Flash Gordon comics, but his Star Wars work. I mean, I have to pick up the torch and carry it for Steve, man, because he taught me things when I had him on the gutter about Williamson's run on that book that I had no idea on, let alone the legendary depth of how deep some of the stuff that he did went. That was absolutely fantastic. Come on, join us and just talk about those books, man. Those were fantastic. But you've also got from that same era, that early 80s era. I mean, all of the X-Men stuff, Byrne, I know you love Byrne. You could come on and talk about that. There's tons of great stuff that you can always toss in and add. Some of my selections tonight were from Epic Comics, and they're not so much because of the content as of the history around them. But one of the things, since Dean's given me a little bit of a chance to chat here with you guys, Fantagraphics Books does some absolutely fantastic collections of stuff that, yes, you can go out and you can dive into a long box and you can find the issues, but they're going to be astronomical. And a lot of these are pre-code things. And their collections run about 300 pages, hardbound, and they're like 20 to 25 bucks. And if you're looking for Ray Bradbury's, offering to comic bookdom, if you're looking for old EC stuff, if you're looking for the collected works of Charles Schultz and his Peanuts, or if you're looking for the collected works of Hal Foster, those are all available over on Fantagraphics, and they are doing an absolute service to everybody to make that stuff affordable so that you can actually grab them, open them up, and see those pages, because there's something tactile about it when you have it in front of you. And sure, you can go to pirate sites and you can pull those pages up, but it's not the same unless you have it in front of you and you can see it in the light. And granted, most of them are in black and white, but and even then you can see the heart and soul that these artists poured into them, and the line work is absolutely incredible. And when you talk about some of the legends that are available, like Bernie Kriegstein, who arguably wrote one of the most impactful comics ever, with no pun intended, an Impact comic #1. Man, you don't get the power unless you see those pages in person. And Kriegstein's career is so short for what he did in comics, but his impact is so much. Again, no pun intended. But man, when you can get your hands on something like that and actually look at it and just sit there and stare at the glory of what he was able to put on the page, it's something special. Corollary to that, there's something to be said for actually having the original issue, and that's the cool part. Almost everything I've selected today that I'm going to go over is fairly affordable. I tried to go out of my way to pick stuff that you can go into your local LCS or easily find online for a reasonable price. And if you can't find the individual issues, you can definitely find the collections. So without rambling too much, I'll see if anybody's saying anything here in the chat while we're waiting for Dean to come back. We got everybody's saying hi to each other. We've got you can't disagree with stuff I've never read, says Crazy Mad. Well, that's true, man. I thought you'd read some of that. I apologize if I was incorrect in that assessment. Crazy Mad, I would jump on, but I'm out of town with the lady. Just stopped to give Dean some shit. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Would love to have you on here, but I understand completely. Hope you have a great night, my friend. Awesome one. Why do I feel like this is gutter day 2? Well, I really wasn't prepared to get the mic handed to me like this, so I don't have a whole lot to discuss. On the gutter, though, is my my Friday show. I guess I could plug that for a minute. So Fridays, every Friday, religiously at 11:30. It's a 1-hour show. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't, and it is JP, Raiden Radio, who is the author of Eudaimonia and Noirlum, and we pick a topic and we talk about it. And sometimes the topic is a new release, a new comic release that's right off the shelves. This week, our special guest will be Hojo, and we will be talking about Mad Cave's latest iteration of the perennially awful adaptations of Dick Tracy. And from all appearances so far, sadly, it looks like another miss. But this last week we had Elasmat on, and our guests always have the honor / privilege / horrible penalty of picking the topic. And he chose to do the duality of Garfield by Jim Davis and Dave Sims' Cerebrus, but specifically just the first 4 issues of Cerebrus. So it's before you even get into any of the really good stuff. And even on the stream, he was kind of regretting his decision, because I think he really wanted to discuss High Society, because when you're talking Dave Sim, that's obviously the first thing that comes to most people's minds when you're going to talk about Cerebrus. Maybe with the exception of Cerebrus issue 186, which is where everything kind of falls off a cliff. But Awesome One is saying that Aunt B is greater than B. Arthur. And man, I think you're going to try to start a fight with Snuggie on that one. I know he's going to disagree with you. Henry Bima says the episode on pulps was excellent. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Pulp is, since Dean's still not back, I guess I'll go into that a little bit. Pulps, as they are, I find to be even more amazing than comics. They're the absolute pure Americana in how they are constructed, their history, where they went.
Sorry about
and
that,
Dean's
guys.
back, so I won't have to go any more into that. Whew.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. My boss just needed to ask me some details about some email that we had received, and it's a whole thing. It's just boring real estate stuff.
Yeah, no worries, man. I think I bored everybody to death. So.
Well, thanks for that anyway, man. I appreciate you. We didn't lose any viewers or anything. We actually gained a couple viewers. So whatever you were saying was super interesting.
I wouldn't go that far, but
G'day, Michael T. Good to see you, man. I think he has nerd cred. I mean, we all have nerd cred here, don't we? What's
I
up,
think so.
Snuggy? Good to see you, mate. Ellie's like he murdered his wife. Yeah, that's what I heard. What else we got? Awesome One says Dean with fire. Good to see you, Awesome One. Seems we got everyone here, man. In case you guys haven't noticed, we've got a few members in the chat here, but I'm actually doing a members giveaway very soon. Like I'm collecting some of the comic books that I mentioned in the last stream will actually be in this box because I'm going to be giving away a massive box for all the members. You know, like one member will win this huge prize that is full of things. So if you're not a member already, please consider becoming a member and you'll get put in this drawer and maybe you'll win this massive box full of comics and stuff and a jar of Vegemite because I'm Australian.
Oh,
Yeah, Crazy Man says you can't disagree with stuff I've never read. Fair enough. Yeah, rest in peace, Steve. I miss Steve. I think about Steve all the time, like more than I thought I would have. Honestly,
yeah.
I can't even.
About every 2 weeks, I listen to at least a good chunk of the episode that I had him on the gutter. Man, it still hard. Miss him a lot.
Yeah. No, it's just. It was so shocking, you know.
Yeah.
Phil says he's reading the Burn run of X-Men. Nice.
Hell yeah. And when you're done, man, you got to jump over and read his stuff over on his forum. That's amazing.
Oh, I've never read that stuff, but I have read the Burn X-Men run. It's good stuff.
Oh, dude, you got to go over and read. The thing I will never forget is I can't remember who was interviewing him, but Sean Gordon Murphy, the guy that was interviewing him mentioned, he's like, yeah, Burns over there just like doing his own X-Men for free. And Sean Gordon Murphy was like, why would he do that? And it's like,
Yeah, what?
out of passion, motherfucker. Like, clue in. Like, it means that much to him. That's what comics should mean to everybody that's working in the industry. Like, you should love it that much that when what you love goes off the rails, you fix it.
Yeah. Even if it costs you your own money and your own time, you fix it. Like that's what we're all doing here in indie comics because a lot of us had given up on the mainstream. But there are certain things, like X-Men is one of them, that I could never give up on personally. Like X-Men and Spider-Man. I won't read Amazing Spider-Man now because I think it's Zeb Wells at the moment. But like those writers they've just been terrible. Just over it. It's been getting progressively worse for years now to the point where I don't even buy Amazing Spider-Man anymore. But Ultimate Spider-Man's good. So I'll keep reading that. But hail, Billy. Welcome. Good to see you, mate. Murph and Dirk never recovered from Crazy Mad's heterosexuality. I mean, that's neither here nor there, Mo. Yeah, B. Arthur over the lady. What else we got? I'm scrolling. I'm not even at the bottom yet. Appreciate all you guys being here. You're all awesome. Those are fighting words. Fight me Australian style. Pulp comics over pulp orange juice. This is true, yeah. No, I take my orange juice with no pulp. I wonder if someone could get AI to do B. Arthur doing the snake dance from Dusk Till Dawn. Somebody definitely could. And if it can't right now, give it another 6 months to a year, and then it definitely will. What else we got? Scrolling. Appreciate all of you guys showing up. And yeah, now I'm at the bottom. Pulp Vegemite.
There you go.
It's veggie with an E, not an A. But yes, Pulp Vegemite. Gross. Bow. Anything for Crack Pack. Damn right.
Whoa, I see Billy Powermax in the chat. I love Sean Murphy. Great all-star catcher for the Braves. Dude, he has a lifetime average of 239. Stop.
It can't be done right now with comfy AI, says Felix. And he would know, because Felix is probably going to be the one who ends up doing that. Yeah. I'm almost due for my annual read of Transmetropolitan. I swear our world is getting more like the books. Yeah. Like, you best start believing in sci-fi dystopias because you're in one.
Yeah, that almost made the list, my friend.
Comics, mate, you in Australia? Yes, I'm in Australia, Billy. Are you just figuring this out now? Like, all these times you've seen me on stream and never clicked on that I was Australian? Home of the greatest band, Silverchair. My mum loves Silverchair.
Silverchair was a great point.
G'day, Hostman. Welcome. Hello, everyone, he says. But yeah, let's jump into my first recommendation. Let me have a look real quick. Now, see, which one should I recommend? Because I've got a bunch of them here. Here you go. I'll actually recommend. Yeah, I'm going to start with this one just because it's a dumb, fun book. This is actually 2 books. Yeah, this is actually 2 books. But they're basically the same book, which is, why they're being put together. You'll see in a second. The first one we're going to talk about is Wolverine versus Blade. This is just a one-shot issue from a few years ago, and it's like a double-sized floppy essentially. It's not quite a graphic novel, but it's not a single issue either. But it's just the one book, and it is just ridiculous, dumb fun. Like Blade and Wolverine go after some vampires at the same time. They end up, having a clash because there's a prophecy foretold that like one or the other, they're both in the prophecy, but one of them is going to be the savior and the vampire god, and the other one is going to be the one that kills him. And that's all we really know. It looks like Wolverine is going to be the vampire god. But yeah, it's dumb fun. It's ridiculous. And let me change it over so you can have a look. The artwork in it is actually really nice. Like, look, it's got these I think they're digital paintings, but it's like digital painted artwork, and it just there's the vampires there. They look fucking awesome. But yeah, this is just one of those books that it's not like too deep or anything like that. It's just Blade and Wolverine fighting some vampires, and it's fucking sick. Honestly, like I'm not going to spoil it too much, but there's nothing really to spoil in this one. It's just a damn good book. Right, and I originally picked it up because that's the cover I have, and like I originally picked it up just because I was like, oh, that's cool, and everybody knows I love Blade, so. And yeah, was not disappointed. Right. But that's just part 1 of this one, because we also have. Let me just remove it, because as I said, like these 2 are putting together as a pair for a reason. We also have this one here, which is bloody hell. There's so many tabs open. Stop that. Open this again. I also have Predator versus Wolverine, which is a newer book, which I only just recently saw this too. This is only from a couple of weeks ago when I read this. Yeah, it is actually really fun. Like it's the same as the Blade one. Like this is just Wolverine versus the Predator. Nothing too deep about it, but it has this actually does have a great story where it goes into it's this one Predator and Wolverine have been fighting each other since like 100 years ago when he was just James Howlett and he was like a younger man and stuff, and they got into a fight there, and then the alien left, and then the alien came back years later when he was in Japan, and then like he comes back again when he's part of the X-Men. It's the same Predator over and over again. And it's not an expensive book, but it is a damn fun book. Like it's literally just, you want to see Wolverine fight a Predator? Awesome. Go for it. But this is the cover of the main trade paperback. But this is the cover of the one I have, and like, look how sick that looks.
Oh man,
that was great. What made me pick it up. I was like, oh, what the hell is that? And yeah, this is it's a good book. Like I don't really know what else to say about this. Like what you're gonna get. It's Predator versus Wolverine, and it's sick. Like the artwork isn't bad either. Like I think there's an interior page here. It's not bad artwork at all. And yeah, very very fun book. It's only it's like 48 pages or something in total, it's like not too long, but just good fun. Like this is just good fun. There's a bit where when he was much younger, he tricks the Predator to go into a cave, and the cave is where he used to sleep and relax and stuff when he was by himself, and there's a bear in there, and the bear is like his friend, like I guess he's fought the bear before. But then he tricks the Predator into going into the cave and getting ambushed by these bears, and that's how he gets away, because he couldn't beat it the first time he fought it. It's actually like, just action-packed shit. But this cover here is the thing, like that was what made me pick it up. It was just so good.
Yeah, going back to your first one, Wolverine versus Blade, that reminds me of there was a What If back in the early 90s. I think it was 91. That was What If Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires. And it had that great kind of style to it with the glowing red eyes that were in some of those panels you showed.
Yeah. Wolverine has red eyes for most of that book. Like that was just a stylistic choice, but because he doesn't have it always, it's just like sometimes he had red eyes. But I really dig that look. So, but yeah, this is definitely check both of these out. You can probably get both these versus Wolverine books. You know, this is why I shared them together. But you can probably get both of them for about $20, just like in total. You know, like they're not very expensive at all, and they're
Right.
both pretty new, so they're not hard to find.
Well, I think
Definitely go
Wolverine
check those out.
stories like that, when you're describing it that way, like one of my favorite standalone Wolverine stories of all time is Wolverine: The Jungle Adventure. Right? It's penned by the Simonsons, drawn by Mike Mignola, and it's just
Oh, hell yeah.
Wolverine gets an excuse to go to the Savage Land, and it's brutal. It's fantastic. And rereading it, it's not like as good as it was when I was a kid, but it's still pretty good. But that nostalgia air just has that beautiful patina around that story, experiencing it again. And it's got that same thing where he's using the environment, to do things. And man, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, you know, not everything has to be a super complicated story. You know, like sometimes you just want to see, two guys fighting, and that's what you'll get from both of those books. You know, whether you want to see Wolverine fight a monster or whether you want to see him fight vampires with Blade, that's what you're going to get. There's no twist or anything like that. It's just, yep, cool. Let's just put these badasses here in front of each other and have them fight. So it's good stuff.
I like it.
Yeah. Wolverine versus Vegemite.
Oh,
Vegemite would win.
yeah. I don't think there's any doubt on that.
No. Yeah, he just needs to get some Visine, some clear eye drops.
Wolverine versus Visine.
Yeah. But yeah. So what's next on your list? Hail Shifty, good to see you, mate. You're not a member yet, but you should become a member so you can enter my giveaway, which is coming soon, probably at the end of the month. You know, I just literally waiting on Google at this point, because as soon as they send me that letter and I can officially get ads put on my YouTube videos, we'll be doing a celebration stream where I will do the giveaway. So make sure you become a member.
Nice. Yeah, so the second one on my list is probably a little bit more esoteric than the first. Speaking of Mike Mignola, it is Joe Golem. This series actually started off as a prose short story, and then it was then followed up by an illustrated novel, which was Joe Golem and the Drowning City in 2012. And then in 2015, Dark Horse Comics signed on to do a comic series prequel. The first was the first 3 issues are called The Rat Catcher. And this is similar in vein to Sandman Mystery Theater in that there's small groupings of issues that are associated with a story. So you've got issues 1 through 3 are called The Rat Catcher. Issues 4 and 5 are The Sunken Dead. 6 and 8 are The Outer Dark. 9 and 10 are Flesh and Blood. 11 through 15, The Drowning City. And then 16 through 20 is The Conjurers. Each collection does have like a trade paperback associated with it. And I think they threw in a bunch of extras to pad the page count. But from what I've seen flipping through them, they're awesome. I own most all these floppies, so I don't own the trades. But this was it's tied in. It's kind of a shared universe, and I use that term very loosely. But with Magnolia's Baltimore series, so it kind of ties into that. But it's this, again, kind of a detective searching around the fringe mortal edges of the occult world and the darkness that exists behind every corner and in the shadows. And it's really well written. The art is probably not something that again, it's kind of in that same vein. The art's passable, but it's not like groundbreaking. It's not going to blow your head off, but it really complements the story. And again, it's a reader's book. It's something that, man, once you kind of get a couple issues into this, it really grabs you. Now, one of the things that is true, and you're going to see it from this page, is it is incredibly atmospheric. They go out of their way to build the atmosphere over, and the action's there, but it's more about the depth. And in that regard, it's a lot like if you were a fan of The Goon, it's a lot like The Goon. It's more about being drawn into the book, and the book holds you because of that. And I think that's one of the best successes of this, is the more you get into it, the more it gets its hooks into you, and the more you want to turn the page and read the next issue. So really good stuff. Again, very affordable. These are like a lot of times you can find these in dollar bins because most people don't know what the hell they are. So
oh, nice. Well, that's always a plus, you know, because the last thing we want to do is recommend something that's super expensive. Like one of the things on my list is super expensive, but it's just that's how good it is. So, but I generally try to avoid that. So it's nice that we can find things that are actually worth the value when it comes to actually reading it, not just trying to buy a collectible. When you buy something and you're like, this is actually good, I'm enjoying this, it's awesome, and especially if it's cheap.
When I see Adam Kember asks in the chat, would you say with Joe Golem, Dark Horse was trying to find its next Hellboy? No, because the Hellboy books are still going on at this time. This is God, they're still doing Hellboy books. This was just
G'day,
something that
Ronan.
Magnolia wanted to do, and it's different than Hellboy, in how it tackles the occult. It's more noir, in its semblance. It's more of the detective story. And it's not as action packed as Hellboy in that sense, but it's good. It serves as probably like a different avenue into that. But given what it was, no, something like this was never going to take off. This was Dark Horse doing Magnolia a solid and doing something that really I think it resonated probably more than they thought it would because it sold semi decently.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this is one of the ones I was talking about when I said I'd just never heard of it. But it looks interesting. I really dig the artwork. Like this actually kind of reminds me of one of the books I'm going to bring up today because like I really like that gritty, like it's not really stylized. It's almost just like, mundane, but not in a bad way. It's just like this is just a real world picture right there, And like I really do. I think it may be the colors that I like about it, but it's just
it's just muted. Everything about it's just muted, and it's atmospheric. I like it for what it is.
Atmospheric, yeah.
It really fits the style of the writing. And Henry Bemis and Snuggy are making me both want to stab them in the eye. So
almost Lovecraftian, says Henry.
It's like nails on a chalkboard using that word.
Brother, please delete that degeneracy. Are you talking about Billy and his band called Take That? That's the only degeneracy I see, yeah. But yeah, either way, that's awesome. And like I'll probably do what I did with Crazy Mad's recommendations last time, and I ended up just downloading everything I could find and just reading them on my tablet. And I'll probably do the same thing with yours, and if I like them, I'll actually buy them.
Yeah.
Because I know you've got a couple on here that I actually do intend on buying, because there was a few in your list that I have already heard of. But let's just have a look. What should I pick for my next choice? I've got a few, and there's some good ones. Oh yeah, this one. I don't know, like this might actually divide the chat. Like, let's have a look at this, yeah? Because what I've got is, let me share my screen real quick. This is the expensive one I was talking about too. Yeah, good luck trying to find this book for like less than $70 to $100, honestly. But this is Mutant Genesis 2.0, which everybody's heard of. Everybody's heard of Chris Claremont and Jim Lee's X-Men run, right? Like it's super famous. I've said multiple times that it's one of my all-time favorite comic book runs. But 2.0, in case you didn't know, is like a recolored, relettered version that came out in mid 2000s. Like it came out a few years ago. It's very difficult to find these days because it's sold out everywhere. But you can get it on eBay and things like that for a little bit too much. But honestly, Mutant Genesis, like I've got some examples here. I'll show you. Mutant Genesis 2.0. They took the original ones, which were wrong way. They took the original ones, which were already awesome. Like that's the original one there, and then they recolored them. So it looks like a modern day comic book. They just took the line work and then recolored and relettered it. So, you tell me what you think. They might not have even relettered it now that I'm looking at that there. But, like it goes from that to that. And it is honestly one of the most beautiful books that I own. Like it's like 200 and something pages or whatever. It's got a bunch of the Jim Lee and Chris Claremont X-Men in it. And it's just every single page looks amazing. Like we've got, oh wow, it's just getting smaller and smaller. But look, we've got like, the original version of it. And then you've got like the remastered version of it, which is just amazing. Like it's honestly one of the best books I own. And it just looks absolutely beautiful.
More J.J. Abrams lens flare in the new one.
Yeah, definitely in the new one, yeah. And like I've got both versions of the book, right? But ever since I've read 2.0, I was just like, wow, this is just beautiful. It's what X-Men books should look like these days, but they just don't. And yeah, definitely highly recommend. You can probably just download and pirate it if you have to, But if you can get a physical copy of this, highly recommend it. It belongs in every single person's collection. And, like it's Chris Claremont and Jim Lee's X-Men, so it's good. It's just like, the classic X-Men stories with Magneto being a bad guy and, Wolverine and Gambit and Charles Xavier trying to calm him down and stuff like that. It's awesome. It is truly awesome. It has, I think it runs from, it starts off from, like X-Men #1 and it goes all the way through to like, I think it's like number 8. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure which number it does, but it has the first couple of story arcs in it, and it is awesome. It's truly awesome. Completely recolored and redone for a modern day, like the actual modern audience. But yeah, beautiful book. Highly recommend this. It's one of my all-time favorites, and definitely go check it out. Like what more can you say about Claremont's X-Men? Really, like everybody knows.
Well, to be fair,
Claremont
this is
and Jim Lee's
not
X-Men.
Claremont's X-Men. This is Jim Lee's X-Men that Claremont helped out with a little bit, and then Lee condensed down a lot of Claremont's storylines into shorter form and shorter issues. To be fair, I'm not a fan of Jim Lee's X-Men at all. Yes, the pages are absolutely beautiful. I'm not aware of this, so I will have to check it out because it does look interesting. But yeah, fantastic stuff, man.
Yeah, no, it's honestly great. Like it's one of my favorite books that I actually own, so highly recommend. Disagree. Killing Joke is great. Yeah, Alan Moore is one of the most overrated writers ever.
Oh, I completely disagree.
No, have you seen his script?
Yeah.
It's like the Diaries of a Madman. He is out of his mind.
Doesn't
The
matter.
man's got good stories, but he just surrounds it with just his own thoughts. And it's like, we've got to dig through all of this. Like, if you were working for him as the artist, it would take you twice as long to read the script.
It doesn't matter. The final product is always awesome.
Don't recolor comics. They absolutely ruined the Killing Joke by losing the bisexual lighting. I mean, I didn't even know that the Killing Joke got recolored, so those changes were minimal. What did that say? I thought it was called Mutant Mega Drive in your area. No, that's funny. Yeah, agreed, says Snuggy. Here we go, a fight. Shut up, Bruno. Oh, Billy's trying to get Ali on his show. But yeah, they weren't minimal, says Shifty. No, I mean, let's agree to disagree. Yeah, you grew up with the original. I grew up with the recolor, and I never even knew it was a recolor. So, whereas like this Mutant Genesis one that I just showed, like you can tell that it has been recolored. Like it's completely different styles. They come from 2 different generations of colorists.
Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
even true with Watchmen. Man, the trade is different than the floppies, and I'm not going to get into that. But there's a different feel between the two. One, it's kind of the same thing with binge watching a show versus just episodic watching a show.
Yeah.
And you can't tell somebody that's always had access to the trade that there's anything different. They don't get it. So there's something to be lost a little bit. But when you had to wait, that's what made Watchmen more powerful to those of us that were picking up floppies at the time. So
yeah, well, I wasn't even born at that time. Like I was born and there was already trade paperbacks of Watchmen. So
no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's certain generational things that are just kind of lost. Same thing with you, man. You're probably too young to ever do a comic subscription where you got books in the mail. Once a month you got I used to get my Uncanny and my Punisher in the mail because I subscribed. It was a different world.
Yeah, that's a different time. Like the most I ever had was we could, have a pull list that our comic shops would prepare for us, but they would never send them to us without, charging us an arm and a leg.
Well, and somewhere on the interwebs, there's a great it's like a 15-minute discussion between Steve Dye and I, where we just wax poetic about the days of going to the grocery store and shopping with mom and walking over to the magazine section and reading comics while she was in the produce section. It's just that used to be a thing, and man, for those of us that still remember it, it was something else. It was a different time. It's a different world. It's like how when I talk to guys that like pulp artists or pulp writers that are still living that are in their 80s, and I try to, get their experiences. I can't relate to what they're saying. It's a totally different world. Same thing, man. How do you rationalize in a world where people don't read that, at one time a dime pulp was the absolute shit that everybody was excited about? It's a weird thing. Um, you can't. The time's gone by, so you gotta kind of
Yeah,
understand.
you'll never get those times back either.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, moving on. So my next selection is I feel like I'm obligated to have one of them because I hold them both in such high regard. So I did pick one Brubaker and Phillips piece. I picked
Right.
probably the most common. I picked the Fade Out, and that was 12 issues. First was released in August of 2014. Last was January of 2016. It was approximately a bi-monthly release. Again, written by Ed Brubaker, art by Sean Phillips, colors by Elizabeth Breitweiser. It is an absolute epic story set in the 50s in Hollywood.
This is the
And if
Fade
you
Out.
Yeah, this is the Fade Out, and if you've never read it, the covers for these are absolutely brilliant. You just don't see books like this. They don't come along too often,
There
and
you go.
it's
Very
really
artsy looking cover. I'll give it that.
it is, and it's the story is very grounded. It's a great. And I'm a sucker. Like I said, I'm a pulp fan. I'm a sucker for the detective story. This is a great detective story told through a screenwriter that's working in the industry and the events that happen around him and the corruption, the decadence, everything's kind of flows together. Fantastic 12 issue run. Again, these are actually very affordable again because they've been reprinted so many times. You can get reprints for $2 to $3. The complete omnibus is only like 30, $40. Soft cover, you can grab that. I highly recommend it. It's an excellent read. The art is fantastic. The colors are vibrant and beautiful. And it's just a fun story that, yes, it has some political overtones to it because of when it's set, which is the 50s in Hollywood with the blacklist and everything. But if you can get past that, if you're a rational human being and you can read something, even though it might have a line that you disagree with philosophically, if you can just get into the actual story, it's captivating and it's incredibly well written.
Well, yeah, no, look, I don't mind politics in my stories, and like I enjoy characters having different opinions than not just than myself, but then each other. Like I remember, even when I was a little kid in the Justice League cartoon, Green Arrow was very much like a left-leaning, like activist, basically. And half the other Justice League members disagreed with everything he would say, but that made him super interesting to me, even as a kid who really didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I was just like, this guy's going against the grain, and like I've never said, like keep politics out of your books entirely. Like if you want to do a political thriller, you better represent those political, beliefs and those political messages and stuff correctly instead of just beating us over the head with extremely unpopular political topics.
Right.
Yeah, and
So
like,
yeah, man.
I'm assuming it doesn't, just call you a bigot if you disagree, like
No,
essentially like the way they do in modern day comics.
no, and Brubaker and Phillips are probably. I mean, well, I know they're to the left of the spectrum, politically, but it bleeds through a little bit in their work. I mean, yes, it's the era of how the Hollywood blacklist, and like the main character's best friend is blacklisted, a screenwriter, so he can't work, so he's crashing on his buddy's couch and helping him. But like as this art shows, you get these fantastic dream sequences in conjunction with the harsh realities. And the color work is absolutely stunning. It's Elizabeth Breitweiser, so it's going to be. But
Right.
it's Phillips standard art, and Phillips does an excellent job of understanding the page and how to lay things out on the page that really hit with Brubaker's words. And I think this is probably one of their crown jewels. It's right up there with probably the Criminal series, but I think this is just stands a little bit above it just because of the story. The story to me is it's something that's not quite really ever achieved too often in comics. And it's a really, really good, engaging story that brings humanistic qualities into it. It's a good read. It's got great characters, very, very well paced. And again, man, it's one of those books where you pick it up and you're like in, and you want to see how it ends.
Yeah, well, I really dig. Like, I'm thinking those are flashbacks on those top few panels there. Like, I really dig that. Like,
I'm not
the
going to do
drawing
too many
style of it.
spoilers here, but yeah, there's something going on there. There was a little bit of a
Nice.
party.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, I really like. Either way, point still stands. I really like those, like the pencil style images that show that's like memories or flashbacks or whatever it is. It's not that scene that he's looking at. It's something that maybe he's thinking or But I really dig that. I really like that style. Anyway, and you can't go wrong with Ed Brubaker.
No, you really
Honestly.
can't.
I was actually reading some Ed Brubaker just the other day. Some Captain America.
Those are some great stories, man.
Like, I'm not even American, and those were some great stories, honestly. Captain America is, surprisingly complex.
When Brubaker writes them, absolutely.
Yeah. When he's done well. Yeah, next up for me, I will feature this one next, I think. This is one that, another one that people might be surprised that I'm even recommending, because this was written by Brian Michael Bendis, of all people. I know, right? What the fuck? But
Powers?
this is Sam and Twitch, the complete collection.
Excellent.
Book 1, though. Only book 1.
Yes.
Book 2 is nowhere near as good as book 1 is. Right?
Absolutely. I agree with everything you've just said.
Yeah.
And God bless you for saying Sam and Twitch. This is great.
Fuck yeah. This is for anyone who doesn't know, Sam and Twitch are the two police officers in the Spawn universe. And they've met, Al Simmons multiple times. But honestly, like, this book here is Spawn's in like one page just to kind of go, hey, remember, like, this is the universe that they're in. But it's literally just a detective story. It's like they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. It looks like they're framed for something, and they're being investigated by internal affairs and everything like that. They quit, and then they come back because they get asked to come back. They get begged to come back. The station's falling apart. There's this mysterious killer who's like a giant, like, big muscly dude in a white coat and a white hat and everything, and that's what the mystery is. Like, who is this guy? And he keeps every time he kills a bunch of people, he leaves like a body part there that isn't from any of the dead bodies in the scene. And so, like, you show up on one of them and there's an ear on the floor, and you show up the next time and there's a couple of thumbs. And the mystery comes out of, like, where do these other body parts even come from? And this whole, like, book 1 is fantastic. I'll actually show you. Some of the artwork is just really good. Like, here you go. It's not a kid's book at all. Like, this is a gritty story. Like, here's one of the scenes, and I'm pretty sure this is the one with the thumbs. Can't remember. But, like, here's one of the scenes right here. And, like, this way, the way they play with the panels and the smoke just goes up through the panels and stuff like that. I love this. I really love the art style. That was what originally caught my eye, because I can't remember what's their name. It's on the front cover here. Angel Medina is one of the artists that used to replace Greg Capullo when he was taking a break from Spawn. It'd be like, when Todd McFarlane, then it was Greg Capullo, then it's this person for a few issues, and then it would go back to Greg Capullo and stuff. And they have a very unique style. It's a very fun style. A lot of the times they'll do things like the hand will be way up in the foreground of the panel, and it'll be in this weird position. And, everything that you're focusing on is in, like, the background even. It's not even just in the middle of the panel. It's, like, way off in the distance. But, they've done these strange angles to give you just this unique perspective. And so, like, every single page of the book is just awesome. And, like, as I said, like, look at that. I don't know, something so simple about this that I just love. This is him at the bar after work. And yeah, highly recommend this book, but only volume 1. Like, only get book 1. Don't even worry about book 2 at all. It drops off.
It drops off.
Just goes straight off a cliff. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is a great call, and this is fairly affordable.
Yeah, this isn't expensive at all. This is, like, ranging between, like, $20 and $50 depending on where you get it from. But, like, if you're getting charged any more than that, just go somewhere else. It's not hard to find.
No, not at all. Great
Very
call,
good
man.
book.
This is a lot of fun.
And, like, like, look at this shit. Like, holy crap, it's like dead bodies everywhere. And this happens constantly. Like, every day they wake up, there's just a new new thing. It's like a gang war. It's somehow involved with like the mafia and everything like that, and it seems like they're fighting over turf, but they're actually not. And there's a new player in town who's trying to, fuck shit up. And it is great. And like the whole back and forth between Sam and Twitch is just spot on the entire run of the series. And yeah, whoops, too far. Yeah, great book. Highly recommend this shit. Go check it out if you haven't. Like if you've never seen this, and like, like I'd I've read some detective books and cop books and stuff like that, but more often than not, when I'm reading comic books, it's horror or it's superheroes. And so like I mainly only gave this a go because it was Sam and Twitch, who I recognized from the Spawn books. But I am so glad I did. Like this became one of my favorite books, and I have this exact this collected edition hardcover. I have this on my shelf, and it is just fantastic. Great book. Can't recommend this enough.
Yeah, it is a good one. And I am the opposite. I gravitate more to stuff like this rather than cape shit. Detective stories, crime stories, um, space cosmic adventure, stuff like that really intrigues me much more than the cape shit. I've been burned out on that for way too many years.
Right.
And it just so much of it seems to just be rehashing the same ground. But no, this is really, really good and excellent call, man.
Yeah, well, this one was like, as I said a second ago, like I wasn't expecting to love it the way I did, but that's how good it is. Like when I finished reading it the first time, I was like, wow, that's really good. Let me check out book 2, and was thoroughly disappointed. So yeah, just stick with book 1 and then pretend that's where it ended, and you will be fine. It's honestly great. Great fun.
Yeah. Well, in a complete
Yes, Mo. The first volume ends the story. Yeah. Like it starts a different story in volume 2, and it's not as good.
Yeah, each book in the series is its own story arc. So
yeah.
But my next one is World Without End. And anyone that listens to The Gutter is going to be familiar with this because I highlighted this about 6 months ago. This was 6 issues written by Jamie Delano. The art was fully painted by the immeasurably talented John Higgins. And it's set millions of years into the future. And it's a world of living flesh. It's dying in a way, and
Yeah.
it's an all-male race that suppresses every manifestation of anything of the feminine. And in this, a mysterious female presence called Rumor emerges and starts to challenge the structure of everything. And it's just a fantastically sci-fi story that's off the cuff with the when you accompany it with the art that Higgins managed to do here. It's strange, it's erotic, it's weird, it just kicks the shit out of you. And the story is not as memorable as the art in this one, but it's something really different. And I'm really confused how DC ever greenlit this. But it happened, and all 6 issues were released. It was actually a fairly decent selling hit. And you
Yeah,
can
well,
collect.
this is one of the ones of your list that I said I'd heard of. Like I didn't want to spoil any of the list, but this is actually one of the ones that I'm in the middle of reading at the moment.
Yeah, this I love this. The art is like I
The
said,
art
man,
is fantastic.
Higgins is just knocking it out of the park. Every page is absolutely beautiful, and the covers are so incredibly dynamic. Yeah, Delano's Hellboy. Delano, man, he's like Denny O'Neil. There's not too much that Delano's done that I don't like reading. I might
Right.
not go back and read it again, but man, it usually for at least a first read, it'll keep you engaged. This is something special. I go back to this fairly regularly because it's just so different from everything else that's out there. It's a really different world. It's not dystopian. It's something beyond even that.
Yeah, the dystopia happened a long time ago, and now it's something different.
Yeah, it's like like postmodernist dystopian. It's
Yeah.
really it's messed up, but man, is it good. And it's just so incredibly different. I can't emphasize that enough. That it's unlike anything you're going to read before or since in how it's structured. It gets a little tropey around issues 4, 5, and 6, but not too heavy, Not too bad that it doesn't maintain your interest. The art really carries you through, though, and this is one of those where you will, contrary to the last three, you will end up staring at some of these pages for a time because they are absolutely captivating. Because Higgins just, like I said, he knocks it out of the park. They're beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. Oh, hold on, let me. Yeah, we've actually got some of the interior pages here, so people can have a look at them all.
Yeah, and every page on this was hand painted. So it's one of those. It's in that rare category. I mean, outside of like, Into Shambhala and Moon Shadow and a handful of others. Like
Into Shambhala is great.
it's so beautiful. That also almost made this list, but I wanted something that was a little different for everybody else because Into Shambhala is more of a philosophical book in a way. But
Right, yeah.
this is a little bit more grounded. It's easier to enter, and you can kind of grasp what's going on a lot easier than that one. But this, oh man, it's got great darkness. If you're a horror fan, if you like Hellblazer or Hellraiser, you'll love this. There's Clive
Yeah.
Barkian themes in this. It's dark. It's omnipresent, and the hero in this, Brother Bones. Man, he is such a badass. It's just the visage of him when he first shows up is so cool. And there's just it's a lot of metal in this. It's metal, it's horror. It's got a great story. And there's, like I said, there's some sexiness too around the edges. So it's worth a check out. It's a goddamn shame it's not known better, but you can get this both in trade and hell, you can get the floppies. I usually score all 6 floppies like once a year for like $10 shipped on eBay. So
Oh, wow.
it's very affordable. This is kind of one of my standard, like, oh, you want to see something cool? Like, I'll ship you this. And I've yet to ship this to somebody and they don't just go, holy shit, this is great. So
Yeah, no, this is one of those ones that I probably heard it from you, but I'd heard about it somewhere, and I ended up checking it out. And the second I saw the artwork, I was like, "Wow, I've got to check this out. I've got to read this. I've got to get a hold of it." And yeah, as you said, it's super cheap. Like it's not even in Australian dollary dues. It was not expensive at all. I think I spent like $35 or something for the entire lot of them.
yeah,
But
it's ridiculous how affordable it is
yeah,
for what it is. It should be
wasn't
more
bad.
expensive, but
And yeah, into Shambhala as well. Before we move on, if you can't afford that one, because that one is kind of expensive. I always thought it was a super famous book that was just hard to find, but it's just super expensive these days. But you can actually watch an animated, like what's the word, motion comic. Somebody
yeah.
took all of and got actors and everything, do the voices and everything. It's all just on YouTube for free. Just look up Doctor Strange into Shambhala, and you'll
Yeah.
find it straight away.
Yeah, and Citizen Ronan says, a planet of only men, and Aldous says there's sexiness. Yes, because you didn't listen close enough, because the whole point of the book is the masculine of the planet is trying to rub out the essence of Rumor, who is the feminine, and she is the ultra feminine. And
Yeah,
it gets pretty cool, man. You need to check this
yeah,
book
yeah,
out, Ronan.
very
You're
cool.
gonna love it. As a painter, you will love this book.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. All right. G'day, Suzanne Eckstein. Welcome. Good to see you. Angela's like, lol. No, it's not the part that inspired me. Like, I actually started my other thing, my top secret Other Earth that nobody has seen anything of,
Ooh.
long before I even knew what that book was. So, but yeah, no. Let's move into my next one. What should I pick next? We've got a few more to go still. Yeah, I'll pick this one. This one's a brand new book. Yeah, it's actually not even over, really. Like it's not even over yet. So, but there's only one more issue to go, and I'm pretty sure I know where it's going, to be honest. But this one here is something that DC are doing right now. It's called Batman First Night. And if you haven't heard of this book, this is a Batman that's set in the 40s, as if it's, the 40s. And it's like right after World War II. And, it's very olden day, old style. I'll show you the pages. Just because, like, this is what I was talking about before when I said, it kind of reminded me, that thing you showed me kind of reminded me of one of my things. And, you go, that's Jim Gordon there. Like, it's a mature story. It's written by Dan Jurgens. So, it's going to be good. And, like, Batman's got the purple gloves and everything. Like, it's 40s Batman. And it is very well done. Like, some of like, the buildings and things may be traced, to be honest. but like it doesn't actually take away from the artwork. There's a lot of really, really great storytelling in this book, and it's a detective story essentially. You know, like Batman is trying to figure out what's going on because there's a bunch of crimes in the first book that all the fingerprints and, or not fingerprints, but you know, like all the evidence suggests that it's these dead dudes, these people that have already been executed by the state, and they've been in the electric chair, they're dead, they've been buried. So how are they still committing crimes? And then you find out that some of them they are dead, but they've been brought back, and they're like these weird, retarded monsters at this point. Like they can barely talk, but it's definitely those dudes, and just a great book. I honestly like. At first, this is like when I read comic books, I download them, I pirate them illegally, and then if I actually like it, I will buy them. Because there's too much crap in the industry these days, and I've been burned too many times, so I don't actually trust them enough to actually just spend my money on it anymore. This one here, from the second I bought it, it's been one of my favorite ongoing series. Well, ongoing, it's a mini series, and it's only going to be 3 issues long. They've already got the first 2 out. The third one comes out in like 2 weeks' time. Fantastic read. This is actually issue 1, not the entire lot of them, but issue 1 will actually be included in that box set that I'm giving away for all my members. So,
nice.
if you want a copy of this, make sure you're a member and you'll be put into the running to win this massive box prize.
Now, is this is this a Black Label run?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
yeah.
man, this must have slipped through the cracks because I just finished. I grabbed the last issue of the Gotham by Gotham Gargoyles or whatever it was. So I haven't seen this yet, but this looks good.
Yeah, no, this is really good. It's written by Dan Jurgens, so it's good story. And this Mike Perkins dude, who I've never actually heard of before this book, is doing great. Like look at this shit. And there's a lot of great panels like this one, where this is inside the mayor's house, I think it is. It's some politician's house, and those monster dudes that I told you about are there to kill all these politicians, and they're probably going to go after Jim Gordon, and they'll go after Bruce Wayne and everyone else, but they haven't done that yet. Essentially, Batman's there to stop it, and he breaks in just in time to save this guy's life. And the guy's like, because they're in the point where nobody thinks the Batman is real. Like they're talking about the Batman as if it's a giant monster bat. And when he shows up, they're like, "You're real," and he's like, "Get to safety." Blah, blah. It's such a good book, really fun take on the characters, and that's Jim Gordon there, this old man and stuff. But it is just really well done, and it's a book based in I think it's 1946, to be honest. But it's in the 40s, and the World War is done, and everyone's on edge because of that still, because it's only recently, maybe a year or 2 at most, is when the war ended, and now they're like trying to pick up the pieces of everybody's lives and trying to get back to normal. And then all this shit is happening, and at the same time, this mysterious Batman has appeared, and it's great. It's honestly great. Highly recommend this book, and yeah, go check it out if you can.
Well, you sold me on it, man. It's on my list now.
It's definitely worth it, man. You will not be disappointed. It's really good.
Nice. My next one contrasts with this in almost every way.
Oh, really?
So my next one is it was originally created by Mike Grell, and it was written by Mike Grell and the vastly underappreciated John Ostrander. This is from it ran from February of 82 to November of 85 across 34 issues, and it is Star Slayer. Now, Star Slayer is the story of Torin McQuinn, and he's a Celtic warrior fighting against the Roman Empire. But before he is killed, he is transported into the future by the descendants of his remarried wife, because in his universe, he's gone. So his wife remarries, and their future progeny, thousands of years forward, brings him in to help join their pirate crew and fight against a tyranny, the totalitarian regime that rules Earth in the future. And it's a galactic space adventure. It's incredibly amount of just not slapstick, but it's that 80s adventure in space fun that you get only from that mid 80s period.
Yeah,
The book is
well, this cover makes
brilliant.
it look like Space Conan.
It is. It's kind of Space Conan, but it's badass and it's fun and it's written surprisingly well. Also, this whole series is easy to obtain except for a couple issues. Issue 2 is actually the first appearance of the Rocketeer, so it has some value to it.
Oh, okay.
But even then, because it's Pacific Comics, even then it's only like $10. So it's not break the bank time, but it's a really fun read. I've never seen a collection of this. That doesn't mean it's not out there in some way, but the floppies are discoverable, and it's a fun read. I love this. It's to a degree, it's kind of a child of its time, but I think it's still a fun read for somebody entering cold. And as you'll see from this page, the art is a lot better than you'd think for what it is. It's very dynamic. It's got a lot of
Very
fun to it.
colorful too.
Yeah, this splash page is one of my favorites from the first issue. So it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. And it's something that you don't see too often anymore, which is kind of the ancient world being drawn into the future. A lot of times it's more of the contemporary drawn into the future, or the future drawing back to the past. You don't get much of this anymore. And it's that cool sword and sandals, sword and sorcery, minus the sorcery, into space. And man, I love it. I wish there was more stuff like this today.
Yeah, well, it looks awesome. This was, I'd never heard of this one until you brought it up, but like, it really does look really cool. Yeah, I'll probably give it a go. If I can find a copy of it, I'll give it a go. But yeah, like, I love the painted cover and the interior work here. Like, does it all look like this? Because like this, I really like. Like, I dig
Yeah,
this.
no,
And the colors and everything are very vibrant. And
it's surprisingly a lot better than you'd think coming from Pacific. Pacific is kind of known for a real hit or miss in their quality, but this one's a standout. It's Mike Grell, for the love of God. Absolute legend. So, and no, he doesn't like go to the future and he's not like better and stronger than everybody else. He just goes because he's brutal and they need somebody that's brutal. And it is a little bit of Stranger in a Strange Land, I guess, but man, I don't want to ruin it for anybody that wants to read it. So
the chainmail loincloth is a bit much, but it's a good series, says Henry.
exactly.
Adam
It's a lot of
Kember's
fun.
like, I love it. His armor only protects his hog, but isn't that the most vulnerable part? And the most valuable. Don't forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's okay, Allie. Not everybody has taste.
I've never read that, so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of John Carter, though, to be honest.
Ooh, those are fighting words, man.
No, I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it. I'm just like, I've always been. It's one of those ones that surprises me. It's as big as it is. Like when they were making a movie about it, I was like, they're really making a movie about it? Like, I didn't think anyone would ever care enough. But sure, whatever. And that movie ended up being crap. But the books are better than the movies. Everybody knows that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next up on my list, because I've been doing them in random orders like an idiot. So let me pick. This one. This one's probably the maybe not next to the X-Men book, but this is definitely the newest book on my list, other than that Batman one that's still not out. But this one is complete. You can at least get this one. You can actually buy these. These aren't too expensive in the collected edition. And most of you have probably heard of this one, but I've never actually, I've briefly mentioned it multiple times, but I've never actually gone into detail about why I love this book so much. And just so you know, I will spoil this. So if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled, look away now. But this is The Last Ronin, which is a Ninja Turtles book. And like whether you've heard of it or not, I'm sure you've heard of the Ninja Turtles. And this is, honestly, like, I don't think it even has any competition. Like, this is legit the best Ninja Turtles book ever made. It is so good.
It's the best Turtles book made in the last 20 plus years.
Easily. That's not even a question. But honestly, it is it's basically the end of the Ninja Turtles, because like this is the future and like there's only one Ninja Turtle left. And at first they keep it a bit of a mystery. You know, like they don't really like, you know, you kind of have your guesses and things, but you're not really sure because he wears a black mask and he uses everybody's weapons. Yeah, he's got his own as well, but like, you know, he's using all the different Ninja Turtles weapons and things, and so you're not really sure which one he is, but all you know is that he's the last one left, and that, you know, even Splinter is just gone. They're all gone, and he's haunted by the ghosts of his brothers, so they're always bickering in, like, you know, behind it. It's like he's, you know, whether or not it's him going crazy and he just sees his brothers, or whether or not he's actually got the ghosts of his brothers following around, is just left up to interpretation. But the point is, they're always bickering in the back of his mind, and they're always talking shit with him as he's trying to figure out what to do next. And he's, you know, this old, bitter, he's just an angry Ninja Turtle, right? He's an angry Ninja Turtle who's on his own. And about 2/3 of the way through the book, because the book is like 4 issues long, but you can just buy the trade paperback for like $20. But the book was like 4 issues long. I've got all of them on my shelf because I loved it so much. And you eventually find out, in I think issue 2 or 3, you find out that it's Mikey, it's Michelangelo. And like, which makes perfect sense because, of course, him being the immature, silly one, he was never going to sacrifice himself. He was going to have his brothers jump in front of him to die and protect him. He was not going to run off the way Raph runs off and get yourself into trouble and shit. So like Mike, and he's unrecognizable as Michelangelo, though, you know, like he's not silly at all. He's bitter and angry and just quiet. And so, like, he's a complete master at this point too, because it's been years. And it is such a good book. It is just an amazing, amazing story. Because like I had been out of Ninja Turtles stories for years, like comic book wise, you know, like I had stopped buying them years ago. And when this got announced, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll give it a go. Bloody hell. Like, it really just reinvigorated my love for the Ninja Turtles. It reminded me why I liked them in the first place. And if you've never read this, this is a must read. Whether or not you like pirate it or buy it or whatever, this is a must read comic book. It is so damn good. And let me skip over so you can see some of the interior work. The interior work is really nice too, you know?
So
But yeah, like
this is one of those books that anytime you hear somebody say like, "Oh, mainstream's not releasing good comics anymore," it's so full of bullshit. Because I mean, granted, this came out, God, in 2020.
yeah. This is a
But
few
it
years ago
really
now.
didn't start rolling until early 2021 with a lot of the praise. And it's an absolutely fantastic read. Yes, it makes you sad that there's not more books like this from the last
Yeah.
30 years, but my God, is it good. And it's an ad. I will also say this: if you won't, they've done a sequel to this, and it's absolute garbage. So
Yes,
just
they have. I don't have the sequel. I've read the sequel, but it's not nearly as good.
no, just read this. This
Yeah.
is absolutely worth your time. And again, you can get the trade for $20. It's priceless. It's fantastic.
It is
And yes,
so
this
good.
is mainstream.
Yeah, and like as you can see on this page here, you know, he's having a full-blown conversation, but he's by himself. Like that voice from off panel is one of his brothers at all times, you know? And he's literally just talking to himself, you know, like if you look up the top here, he's like, stay behind if it bothers you that much. And they're like, hey, where you go, we go. You know that. It's because they're not real. They're all dead. And it is, when you find out it's Michelangelo, it's literally
It's a gut
tragic. You're
punch,
like,
man. Yeah.
no. It is so wild, and it's such a good book. And like every page looks like this, you know. It's great artwork, great storytelling. It reinvigorated my love of the Ninja Turtles, something that I thought I had grown out of naturally. I was like, nope, yep, Ninja Turtles are fantastic, and this is a must read. Definitely got to read this shit. It's my favorite Ninja Turtle story by far. Like since
Oh
the
no.
early Eastman stuff, it's by far the best thing that they've ever made.
Yeah, there's no contest in this. It's a throwback to everything that was awesome. And Eastman and Laird came back, and this is from a rough outline that they were playing around
Yeah,
with in the 80s. So it's in essence, in every form, it's them, plus they were involved in crafting the story and getting it fleshed out. So it has the entire feel that you're looking for something like this. And it
yeah.
is epic in every sense.
And
So
they actually recently announced that they're going to be making an R-rated Last Ronin movie. So You know, whether or not that turns out any good, but that's a thing that's happening now. Is a Ninja Turtles movie that is apparently going to be a sequel to the, you know, the 80s and 90s Ninja Turtles movies. And yeah, it's going to be the last Ronin. It's going to be rated R. So
Yeah, it'll have to
look
be a
forward
hard
to
R.
that or dread that. Yeah, it would have to be a hard R. Yeah, because if they want to do any of it justice, it's just because like you get to see when you find out it's Mikey, you also get to see how all the others died.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, it's some harrowing shit, honestly. Like Leonardo and Splinter died side by side. Raphael gets drowned. Like he gets
kinda
into a, you know how he
sacrifices
always runs
himself.
off on his own. You know, like he's the first one to die. You know, so it's kind of a spoiler, but not really because he's the first one you learn about. But like Raphael runs off on his own and gets into a fight with Karai and that. And then after being, you know, like shot and stabbed and everything like that, he's fighting with her and she drowns him in like the river. And it's so messed up, so messed up. But definitely get this book if you haven't. If you've never read it, if you've never seen it or anything, must read. An absolute must read. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, man. It's a hard one to follow. Mine definitely pales a little bit in impact compared to that. Mine's from 88 to 89. It's 9 issues. It's Semper from Marvel. This was a direct result from the success Marvel had in 86 with the Nam. But Semper was different. The Nam was a perennial, ongoing, obviously, story about Vietnam and soldiers in it. Semper followed kind of loosely. It was an anthology comic, but it loosely followed one family, the Whittier family, through American history. And so each issue kind of had the ties that carried the story through it. What was awesome about it was drawn by classic war comic artists, John Severin, Sam Glasman, and Andy Kubert. So the art is just fantastic. The stories are not what you'd expect from something like this. They're not the kind of stories that glorify war. They're the kind of stories that talk and more about the people. And the art is very emotive for what was going on. The action happens between the panels, as you
Yeah,
see
like
in
you
the
can see here, there's like no words on this page, but it
yeah.
works.
It's a heavily emotional series, and it really dives into both the costs emotionally for what a person has to go through in war, and then when they come back home. Issue 1 ends with this character experiencing kind of the ramifications of some of the actions that he had in this action. And at the same time, he picks up his daughter and they go to the Vietnam War Memorial and they put their fingers on his brother's name. So it shows you the cost. Not everybody comes home. It's
Right.
grounded. It's really good. And I think it might be one of those things that unless you were of era, maybe it doesn't hit as hard as it could. But I mean, as somebody that grew up with a lot of my friends being Vietnam, their dads or their moms were, vets from the Vietnam conflict. It was something that really hit me. And Citizen Ronin's asking what years. This is from 88 to 89. It was 9 issues before it was canceled. And I think it's superior to the Nam. And I'm a huge Michael Golden fan. But this is what comics should strive to be in some regard. And I think this is it's a very mature take. It deals with some very mature issues, but it's done in a way that it's engaging for anybody.
Yeah, well, look, like I really dig the artwork. You know, they don't draw comic books like this anymore, and it's a real shame.
No,
But
war comics
I've
are
never read
it's a
it,
whole
so
lost art, man.
yeah, yeah, I really dig that a lot. That looks great, and yeah, like there's something like I've advocated for this many times when I'm actually, you know, drawing comic books. I try, and Odin never lets it happen. But I always like this page is so powerful. We don't need your dialogue at all, and then Odin would take that personally. But it's a thing, and like one day I will have an entire book, well, not an entire book, but you know, like at least one page where there's no words at all. And like this here, you know, you just got this bit at the very start, but all of this here is just silent, and
Yeah,
it
'cause
works so well.
you don't need anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Semper Fi, Tales of the Marine Corps. Something I'd never heard of, but that looks great, honestly. All right, and now this is my last one. So let me just remove that. Go into the next one there. G'day, Pumps back. Welcome. Share screen. Application. Here we go. My last one is the Bernie Wrightson one that I mentioned earlier. This one here is I swear it's the only, like, most Bernie Wrightson things are super hard to get or super expensive these days, right? But this here is a collected edition of all of his creepy books. And so it's basically a horror book, and it's all drawn by Bernie Wrightson. Some of it's all just black and white, depending on the story. Some of it's color, but it's a collection of, I don't even know how many. It's a big fat book, and there's a lot of different little short stories and stuff in it. But holy crap, if the artwork alone isn't enough to sell you, because Bernie Wrightson is an absolute legend. Nobody draws anything the way Bernie Wrightson does. But the stories as well themselves, some of them are, like you get these days when they make a horror book, it'd be like, oh, someone gets murdered or something like that. That's it. But these ones are almost poetry. Like a lot of them are. Some of them even are, like, some of them just like a straight up rhyme, but they are just truly shocking gothic horror, like some really dark stories in here that, like, I don't think I'm even allowed to talk about them on YouTube, like some of the shit that happens in these books, for real. But yeah, it's genuinely awesome. Genuinely awesome. And this is a collected edition that you can buy pretty cheap. Like same as any other collected edition or something, $20-30 and you get a big fat book of them all. And it is top stuff.
No, absolutely.
Definitely highly recommend it.
It is hard to describe what creepy and eerie were to anybody that doesn't understand it. Because, man, for a lot of their run, they're just republishing shit from the 50s. But
yeah,
towards the 70s, as they moved into the 70s, they were really you've got books like Web of Horror, where you've got Kaluta doing some of his first work, and Wrightson's doing some great stuff. But after they started getting some competition from books like Web of Horror, they really kicked it into gear. And in the 70s is what they established themselves for what they are considered today. And they launched a lot of guys' careers. But the work that these guys were doing in these early issues is just unreal. And at the absolute apex of that group is Bernie Wrightson. And what he's doing at this era when he's working in creepy and eerie is, man, it's peerless. It truly is.
100%.
There's nothing like it out there before or since. I mean, and he's got a great career that's spanned decades, and he's still producing good. Or the last stuff that I saw he was producing was still amazing. But
oh yeah, I've seen some of his newer stuff on Twitter that is just, it's ridiculous. Like these one drawing that would take weeks to draw that much, but he just fills it up on the page. Puts the way he I really respect. You probably know what I'm talking about. He drew this Frankenstein's monster thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like Dr. Frankenstein and the monster on the table, and the way that he did the glass, and you could see through it, and you could tell it was glass at the same time on all the little beakers and everything.
Enough that it matters. It's just
it was ridiculous. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Like, the man is an absolute master of his craft, and he's an absolute legend. There's nothing even comes close to the way Bernie writes and draws things. Just things. Like, the way he renders water is just insane.
Well, and so water is one of the most difficult things to do, right? Like, if you go back and look at one of the things that I've harped on a lot over the years is Hal Foster in some of his really early Prince Valiant from the mid 30s, when he's doing stuff with waves, and Prince Valiant will be standing, it'll be a battle on a bridge and the waves are crashing beneath it, and there's this epic battle scene above, but your eye isn't focused on that. Your eye's focused on the goddamn wave because it's so dynamic. Or when Valiant's standing on a beach and you get the same effect. Like, Wrightson has that effect that somehow you want to focus on the center of the image, but there's so much going on around it. He's a master at this that you get like this bifocal effect. You look at it once and you see the primary image, and the longer you stare at it, you start seeing all this beautiful detail that he's wrapped into it, and you end up spending time on this page and dwelling on it. And that's the greatest compliment you can give an artist, is instead of just turning the page, I sat there for 15 minutes just staring at what you produced. And man, there's few like Wrightson that can accomplish that.
Yeah, well, this entire book is full of pages like that, where even just like a little panel, I would stop and I'd be like, wow, like this is just a tiny panel, and he's just gone all out just for this one. Like it's a panel in the top corner, and he's gone all out for it. And he does that with every single panel on every single page in this book. It's just ridiculous. Like there's this one short story, right, where there's a giant sea monster. That's not what the horror story is about, but like there's a sea monster there, and it comes out like this sailor's telling the story about it, and it comes out of the water and nearly flips the boat, and it's pissing down rain, and there's like thunderstorm in the background, everything, waves are going crazy, and it's this giant serpent sea monster thing, and I had never seen anything like it. And this was just like, one of the random panels on the page. I think it was like 5 panels on that page, but it was just one of the random panels on that page. And I spent 5-10 minutes just looking at the way he had rendered all the water and the way it was splashing. And there was, like you got your fishing nets and everything, and they would cross in front of each other. And rather than it just filling out in black, he somehow managed to make it look like you had 2 nets in front of each other crisscrossing, as well as all the water, and it was raining with this giant monster that was covered in scales. It's honestly insane. Like I don't have the patience. Like I want to have the patience for that, but I can't justify spending that much time on like a tiny panel on a page. It's insane. And
Right.
the dude is an absolute legend.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, excellent call. And this ties into what I was talking about when you were on the phone. It's the Fantagraphics collections. That's why those are so important. That
Yeah.
for $20-$30 you can get some of this work that still resonates today and is absolutely magical. And it's beautiful stuff, man.
Yeah, no, this is, if you like horror books, because as I said, this is super harrowing. Like there is some really dark stories in this stuff. But, if you like a good scare, check this out. Like you will not be disappointed. Highly
Absolutely
recommend.
not. No,
That's
and
my last one for the day. So
yeah, so I've got 3 left. My next one is this comes with a giant caveat, and I warned ahead of time that there was going to be one that. Well, this is it. It's Epic Comics. It's 6 from Sirius. It was a 4-issue series. It's a galactic drama, and this one I don't recommend you actually. Well, you can read it. It's fine. It's Craig Monch, so I mean he does a good job. But this one's more, I think, special because of 2 reasons. One, they do a lot of experimentation with page layouts, and some of the pages that I think I sent you 2 pages for this one.
yeah, you did. I've
Yeah,
got them both here.
but the page
That
layouts
one
for this are
and that one.
really cool in how they're laid out, and it's unique, and it's the pacing is not good, but the story was originally constructed for a magazine. And so like for the first issue, it's 20 pages of semi-engaging, and then it just jumps, and then you're like at the last 12 pages, you're like, what the hell am I dealing with? Where did this go? Well, it's meant to be episodic. It's not meant to be condensed down into comic form. So it's a little
Right.
different, but man, it's of era, but it's really special because of it's got a lot of unique layouts that the artists were experimenting with and trying something different out. And in that regard, I gotta say it's worth your time to check out. It is affordable, mainly because most people don't think very highly of it. I think there's a lot of cool experimentation going on here, and I think it's something that is kind of lost in a lot of books. People always kind of take the safe space, and sometimes you don't want to take safe. You want to kind of take a risk, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it works with some things, and it fails in others. And it's a good learning tool for anybody that's looking to do their own comic. For man, here's a great example of somebody that's trying something, and maybe it doesn't hit, but why doesn't it hit? And dissect it a little bit and go through it. So not everything, in my opinion, is worth picking up just simply because it's epic. Sometimes you can pick something up and learn something from where it failed. And this is a great example of that. There's a lot of successes here. There's also a lot of failures. And this is a good one where you can just, kind of pick up and try to figure out what did they do that worked? What did they do that failed and why? And sometimes asking that why question is half the fun when you're going through a book, if you're as weird and, oriented towards, figuring out comics as I am. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, comic books are an art form, and like there's something that even this is something I learned very quickly is that just because you know how to draw doesn't mean you know how to draw a comic book. Like there are some artists that are just better off doing covers and pinups than they are doing layouts. And like, from what you just said, this seems like it would be a book that would help anyone figure out where it is they land on that scale.
right. I love Henry Bemis's story there in the chat. That's fantastic. Like
Let me see. I can't see
I don't know. I just have to shrink back into the crowd at that point. But yeah, Paul Galassi did all the art on Six for Serious, and as is obvious to anybody that's reading the comment. Yeah, he did all of the art on Master of Kung Fu. So I did the run on it.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Let's Get Serious, says Awesome One.
But yeah, and then my next one is this is the only true indie I have on my list. Everything else is well, technically, I guess the last one is indie too, but this is a true self-published indie. This is Mac Smith. This is Scurry. And if you have kids and you do not own this, you need to go to Amazon and buy it now, because this is one of the best books out there right now that's like an all ages. It's scary. It's got scary moments. But man, Scurry is fantastic. And no, it's not a furry comic. It's about some mice, and it's their story in their world. And it's all the terror that a small animal has to deal with, cats and hawks and all the predators, and let alone just surviving in life. And it's got like a great Secret of Nim vibe to it. And I loved the movie as a kid. I love the story. So this really hit a special tone, and it hit when Mac dropped the first one. It hit just at the right time. My kids were of the age, my oldest really resonated with this. So this is just something that, man, I can't recommend enough. It's a fantastic indie book. There needs to be more people reading this and buying it and singing its praises, because it's a goddamn shame that it's not getting the acclamation that it deserves.
Yeah, well, I'd actually heard of this one before, like I'm not sure where. I think I might have heard about it on Bancroft's channel, to be honest. But like this is one that is getting noticed, like it is getting some recognition. And like these are pages from it that I'm just scrolling through right now as I'm talking. And like they are beautiful. Like it's honestly beautiful.
Smith's a hell of an artist. He's up there with Dave Raposa, in my opinion,
This
for
bottom
what he's
panel,
able
like
to do.
holy crap. That's so pretty, man. Honestly.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And yeah, dude, I get it. Anytime, and the whole furry fandom thing ruined an entire section of comics for a lot of people, because everybody's paranoid that it's going to be weird. This isn't weird.
They ruined an entire section of pop culture entirely.
Yeah,
Like
it's just fun, good storytelling that uses animals, and it's not weird. It's not that degenerate side. It's just a fun story, just like
it's
the
just
old
a cute
Robin
little
Hood Disney
mouse.
cartoon is a fun story. Um, don't let the degenerates keep you away from something that's great when it's completely outside of their realm, like this is. This is it's worth your time, and I think it's a great story. It's a fun read.
Yeah, it's my favorite. That one right there, like that bottom panel there, is my favorite out of a lot of these.
Oh yeah,
that's sick. And trust me, you don't want to go that way to the cat. And it's like, yeah, cat does not want to go that way.
Yeah, no, this series it's full of those. I just grabbed a couple again. I tried to grab panels that didn't steal anything from any of the story, because the last thing I want to do is do any kind of spoilers here. So that's my big indie recommendation. This is available. You can get the collected work on Amazon, and it's not that bad. I think it's like $20-30. So highly recommend that. My next one, second to last, is again, I gotta kick it back to the old school a little bit, and it's Police Action from Atlas Comics. This was a semi-anthology book. There were 2 stories in the book. The first one was Sam Lomax, NYPD. It was written by Jack Younger with pencils by Mike Sadowski and inks by Al McWilliams. That's not the one that I want you to buy this book and check it out for, though. It's the second story in this. It's Mike Malone Manhunter. Script and pencils by none other than Mike Plug himself, with inks by Frank Springler. This is the hit. Issue 1 was from February of 75, issue 2, April 75, issue 3, June 75. This is some of Mike Plug's best work. And that's a huge flag to drop for anybody that's familiar with his work. Because I mean, man, he absolutely kills it anytime he's doing sword and sorcery. But this stuff sings in a way that nothing else from this era sings when you're talking about hard, gritty, street level stuff. There's something about Plug's art here that is just incredibly special. And for whatever reason, it's only 3 issues, but this like falls under the cracks and nobody talks about it. I
I'd
absolutely
never
love
heard of it, man. Never even heard of it.
Yeah, this is it's a gem. Now, Police Action is actually a reboot of an older 50s book, so it's a little hard to find because every time you search Police Action, the 50s books are going to show up. But this is from 75. It's the backup story. It's not even the primary story, but this is the gem in this series. These are fantastic. Citizen Ronin has this issue. Hell yes, man. No, these are great, and check them out.
Awesome.
And then my last one is the other arguable indie. It is Rick Remender and Jerome Opena. It's their magnum opus, I think, in my opinion. I think it's some of the best stuff that Remender's ever done. I'm a huge fan of Low. I think it's Remender's second best work, but 7 to Eternity is my absolute favorite that Remender's ever done. It is the best example of sword and sorcery done anytime in the last dozen years. Issue 1 was released in September of 2016. Issue 17 was released in August of 2021. It is just 17 issues. You can get the collected work for, I think it's like 45. Highly, highly recommend it. The art is out of this goddamn world. The writing is on point. It's a fantastic story. It is absolutely beautiful.
Well, I unfortunately don't have those
Did I not send you? Oh.
No, you didn't send me that one.
Oh, shit. Just a minute.
I just went and double checked too. I was like, did I not save that? Yeah, no.
Just a minute here. I apologize, man. I thought I sent
No, you're right, mate. You're all right. No worries. I think Plug did a story for Twisted Tales in the early 80s.
That sounds
cool. Right. Richard Falk is here. G'day, Richard. Haven't seen you in a while, mate. Welcome. But yeah, well, while we wait for Aldous to do that, I'll just again, if anyone wants to get in on my membership giveaway, I'll be giving away a massive box of comic books, but you've got to be a member. So feel free to join, click on the join button and become a member, and you'll be automatically put in the running to win this awesome prize full of comic books and collectibles and things like that. And here's that image, 7 to Eternity. Oh, that's sick looking. Yeah. What is that? Yeah.
So this is the cover to issue 1. All of the covers are absolutely breathtaking, but it's the interiors.
When did this come out?
This came out in 2016 to 2021.
That is awesome. I'm going to look for that. Just by looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I want to read that. That looks sick.
Yeah, and this was through Image, and then here's a this is usually where this is my go-to.
That's exactly what it is, Ronan. It's a bribe. It's the offer of a possibility of a bribe, because you may not be the winner, but if you are the winner, it's a very big bribe.
And this is my go-to page to sell people on this series. Usually I just drop this and people go, holy shit. And
yeah, what the hell?
Then you go out.
How have I never heard of this one?
I don't know. My standard rule is I'll get a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't like stories that end open-ended. Where I read a trade and it ends in an open-ended question. I like them all self-contained. And I'll go, well, wait a minute. You go out and buy either 7 to Eternity or Low. And if you're not happy with how that ended, then I'll give you the $10 that it costs to get that copy. I have yet to have anybody come back and go, you know what? I wasn't happy, because they're written that well. Remender is a fantastic writer. And usually, with both of these, but more so with 7 to Eternity, the art is absolutely that good that you just keep on going. It's a when you're talking about creating galactic worlds or different settings in a sci-fi tone, you really have to sell it now more than at any time before, because there's so much out there, and you need to make it foreign and you need to make it powerful. And Opena and Remender do that in this book, unlike I think anything I've seen in decades. It is so fully engaging. It is so different. It is so alive in every sense. As you look at this picture, I mean, it's just, you get things in the foreground that are coming at you, you get things in the background that are coming at you, and you have this main character that you've already gotten developed and understood with, to a point that you're interested in where they're headed, off to the side of the page. It's looking away towards the next issue already, and it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful, and man, I, it's a goddamn achievement. And again, this is one of those that's sad because more people aren't talking about it, but it's a modern masterpiece.
Yeah, that is honestly beautiful. Like, I've never heard of this. This is something that's right up my alley. I'm checking it out right now. Like, for real. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's and this is the thing, is the story matches the art. It's epic in scope and tale, and it really dials itself down at times into the nitty-gritty of personal relationships, but at the same time is, again, always has that wide sense of wonder that's so important when you're doing something like this and you're in space. And yeah, it's epic, man. It's some of the best stuff that Image has released in this vein of this genre in years. And God,
That is awesome.
Remender's fantastic. Open his art's beautiful. Check it out. You can't beat it. 7 to Eternity.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's a
Biggest
great one to finish
disappointment
on,
is there's only
honestly.
17 issues.
Yeah, no, I just noticed that. So it's only 2 volumes in total, but I have now got them both.
But yeah, so
definitely.
that's my list, man. And there's more out there. There's more stuff coming out every day. You know, Boom is doing some great stuff with their Dune books. Even IDW, God, fuck them, but they've still got some good stuff coming out, like Last Ronin. I mean, it's one of those where I guess even an idiot can find success. But um, it's harder to find stuff from Marvel and DC these days. But a lot of there's still mainstream guys that are doing good stuff. It's just you got to dig now.
Well, yeah,
Nottingham,
there is
Batcave's
some
good.
mainstream things. Like, there's no denying that the overall quality has gone downhill, but the things that are quality are still really good. Like, there's no,
It seems
like,
to be
they're
that
few
the
and far
things,
between, but they're there.
yeah, it seems to be the things that are standouts, and
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
really worth your time.
Like, I'm reading, like, I know I mentioned the Batman First Night, which is legit probably my favorite thing I'm reading right now. But I'm also reading the new Spawn issues, which have been, since the last 3 issues or the last few months, it's been Brett Booth on the artwork. Fantastic artist, one of my all-time favorites. And the story it's sick. They always say, it's like, oh, fresh new direction for the character, whenever they try that thing. Like, this time it actually is a fresh new direction for the character. Like, all the demons and angels have been removed from Earth, and like vampires are taken over, and it's like a completely different villain than it ever was. It's some really interesting stuff, and it's fantastic art. So there are good things still. Like, even right now, like the newest issue came out like a week ago. Literally, there's still new good things, but they are, unfortunately, fewer than they ever were. There's a lot more crap than there used to be, so you got to wade through all the crap to find the good stuff. But the gems in there, they're fantastic, honestly.
Oh, for sure. What was a couple years ago? They did Brett Booth was involved in the X-Men Legacy run, and that was awesome, man. If you were a
Yeah,
fan of the old school
he
Uncanny
was only there
X-Men,
for 2 issues.
yeah, dude, it was great.
Yeah, I know. I've got them on my shelf. Like,
Yeah,
they are fantastic.
it was a momentary glimpse back and like what could have been if they just would have kept on going. And man, they were great.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, but oh well, what can you do? Like, maybe one day we'll be back to a golden age where everything is just incredible. But
Well,
for now,
I'm a firm believer in that. Like I said, I mean, everybody knows that listens to either my channel or the Gutter. I'm a huge fan of pulp and pulp died,
Yeah.
and dime store novels died. And there's a reason for that. It's because things have to die. Now, pulp's still around. Kursova's out there still producing a modern pulp magazine that you can buy, with some great stories in it. And there's always dime store novels dropping. I think Barry is one of the authors that's out there. He did a book that I picked up randomly that I loved, that was in that style. But things evolve and things change and semblances evolve. And video killed the radio star, and MTV now
Yeah.
doesn't show videos. So you got to kind of understand that the glory of the
Remember
past
when
has to
MTV
die
was
for it
just
to be
music?
appreciated. And
I am just old enough to remember when MTV was literally just music videos, and that changed real quick. But yeah, Mo Big says this stream would have been no different if he hadn't been here. This is really messing with his sense of entitlement. I'm
oh,
sorry, Mo. I'm sorry this is happening. I get distracted by comic books.
well, there would have
Yeah,
been
like-
an emptiness in my heart if you weren't here, Mo. For what
Yeah,
that's
that
worth.
is true.
Now,
Yeah,
where
we
my
would have
heart
noticed.
is, we're still not sure, but
Richard has a question. He wants to know if we feel there is much more they can do with Batman or other legacy characters. With Batman, I think there is, but this is really a depending on the character. Because some characters, I'm like, they should just kill this character off at this point because they've run out of ideas. But then there are other characters where I have my own fan stories in my head that have just never been done. So it's like, of course, there's more, but it really does depend on which character we're talking about. So for
yeah,
Batman, yes.
I think all legacy characters should just be taken out back and shot. I think they're holding things back. Never before have you seen unique characters like Batman or Superman last this long.
No, yeah.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah, is still around, but he doesn't have the gravitas that he had in the 1890s to the 1920s. Nick Carter, detective. You don't see that anymore. The Shadow, to the same degree. The Shadow, I mean, I think still has more feature films made than Batman. If you can believe that. There's a lot of Doc Savage. There's so many characters from the past that have died, and for whatever reason, over the last 50, 60, 70 years, we have become a culture that's grasping desperately to hold on to things, and we need to learn to let go and let new things take their place.
Very well said, yeah. Citizen Ronan says, Aldous likes pulp. Mo, did you know this? The Last Ronin, this is the first time I've ever heard about it. Had you never heard about The Last Ronin, Mo? Definitely check it out, man. You'll love it.
Yeah, I think Mo's opinion. God damn it, Raiden. Stop. There are forbidden words, and that's one of them.
G'day, Raiden. Welcome. Hail, Rex. Welcome.
Hey, good to see you, Rex.
I don't know who the fuck Henry is. You're not Henry, are you, Aldous?
I'm not.
Okay. Who the fuck's Henry? YouTube killed the radio star. YouTube killed the television star. Like, it's literally just, it's going forward, man. What will kill YouTube? Who knows? Maybe X. We shall see. Probably not, though. Superman in the Crusades. Bam. Wow, there's a story I've never seen before. Batman in the 1890s was what?
Man,
was there a Batman in the 1890s?
I'm
Like
sure
a
they've
story?
done it. If they haven't, it's coming. Well, they did Gunslinger Spawn, so I mean that tells you where it's headed, right?
Gunslinger Spawn is so sick. I actually featured that in the first one of these comics we actually enjoy streams because I wasn't even reading the main like King Spawn or Spawn books at the time. I was just reading Gunslinger. Like it was so cool. And he was because he was brought back from, the past, and then he was like sent into the future. And so he was in modern day times, but he couldn't read or anything, and he spoke like an olden day cowboy. And he would do things that, a cowboy would do, like he tied one dude up and threw him on the train tracks. Or like he tied another guy to the back of the car and let the car drive off the way a horse would, run away with somebody. Like he was just a cowboy in modern day, and it was so good. No, Henry, I'm not stoned. What made you say that? Didn't MTV kill the video star too? No, Angela. I don't think they play music videos at all anymore. Like MTV is just like Jersey Shore and shit. Like it's just Like, what else is on MTV other than like trash reality TV shows these days?
I have no idea. We cut
Yeah, I
the
don't think so.
cable cord a long time ago and just do the streaming thing.
Yeah, same. G'day, Akuma. Welcome. Hey, that's a Digimon. You change your profile picture all the time, Akuma.
No, you talked a little bit about the gunslinger thing, and the Old West definitely still has, and I'm a huge Western fan, but the, the Western doesn't have the cultural draw or the cultural association that it used to.
No,
And
not at all.
but nor does a lot of things. The American Civil War used to have there used to be like a patina about it, that it was, brother versus brother and honorable, and things have changed, both in social context and political parlance, that's gone. And we're losing the Old West as we speak, because of the same thing. The next stage then is, kind of the Prohibition 1930s, and that's starting to slip away as well. And it seems to be like, as children, as you well, it starts when you're a child, but as you mature, there seems to be a nostalgia longing for not necessarily understanding your father, but it's understanding like the terminology, like where your grandfather came from. It always seems to be like an 80-year throwback for where the current zeitgeist interest is. And you can see that up through the 50s with the appreciation for the Civil War in that era, and there's an honor there and people respect it. And Davy Crockett and that kind of stuff. That's why. And then as you move forward, then the Western gets really big in the 60s and the early 70s, because it's that throwback. It's that 80-year throwback. Now we're in a period of time where we've gone past the World War II generation, and we're entering a period of time in Americana, which is arguably our economic and global power peak, which is entering into the 50s. And I think you've already seen that period of time kind of be exploited to its maximum much earlier than any other zeitgeist has ever been experienced in media, with the hyper essentialization of Mad Men. And I think Mad Men kind of captured it early, and it was lightning in a bottle, but it fizzled out faster. And if you look at modern media, what we're doing now is we're mining, and I say we in the context of the royal we, but we're mining content that's relatively new. We've got video games and comic book movies, and
Well,
there's
yeah,
not
they're
much.
remaking movies that only came out a few years ago. You know, they're doing a live action Moana over at Disney. Like,
Yeah,
that
well,
movie's not even old.
what it's we're getting to the point where we're becoming such a self-referential that I think there's a danger there, because your culture then gets stuck on the Xerox machine. And
We're going to run out of things to be nostalgic for pretty quickly if we catch up.
well, you start
Like, they're
becoming
doing
nostalgic.
80s nostalgia on TV a lot. You know, what are
Exactly.
they going to do? Get to like 2000s nostalgia?
When you
Nobody's
become
nostalgic for that time.
when you become nostalgic for the nostalgia of the nostalgia, it's the
Yeah.
multiplicity issue. It's you can only put an original on the copy machine so many times before it starts fading, and then there's nothing. And that's my biggest fear, is when you get to a point where your culture has no reference, anything is culture, and that's extraordinarily dangerous, because
Oh,
then you
yeah.
have no foundation.
Netflix had that 90s show. I forgot about that because it got cancelled so quickly, but that was probably just ahead of its time. You know, like if that came out today, people would actually like it.
Right. But I could also step out of line and say, like, there is no culture war. If you truly want to fight the culture war, find a great woman and with the same
Have
morals
a
and
bunch of
ethics as
kids,
you,
yeah.
and have a bunch of kids. Because if there is a culture war, it's a generational culture war, and no amount of you doing anything will affect it, because you can win the battle but lose the war. So the best thing you can do is have tons of kids that all espouse your views and outbreed them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, a lot of the people on the other side of the culture war say things like, you know, we shouldn't have kids because we're destroying the planet and things like that. So just wait it out. They're all going to die off.
Yeah, no, I
And we won't
encourage
have
you.
these
I
problems
encourage you
anymore.
to go out and find a great woman and
Yeah.
develop a strong fundamental marriage that's built on a complete understanding of equal values, and have as many goddamn kids as you can, because kids are
That
awesome.
is
unless they're
That is
mine,
great advice,
in
man.
which case
Like that's
they're absolute
honestly,
tears.
that's almost word for word what I said to my little brother just the other day. For real, like, cause he's in high school, so he's getting like, fuck bitches, get money sort of attitude, and I'm like, nah, man, like, trust me, you don't want to fuck around like that into your 30s and shit. The way all the sad people from my high school and stuff are, you don't want to end up like that. And so I said almost the exact same thing to him just the other day. But yeah, anyway, before we close off, I will mention my membership giveaway one more time, which I'm giving away a massive box, and I've officially announced one of the things that are going to be in the box now, which is, Batman First Night issue 1. So, if you want to be, there's lots of things in that box. It's going to be like $200 worth of stuff. Like I'm literally just throwing things in there. It's going to be one of the bigger giveaways that we've ever, not the biggest because, Jeremy has done some ridiculous giveaways and so has Bancroft, but it's going to be, top 3, definitely in the top 3. So if you want to be in the running for that, make sure you're a member. And yeah, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Corey, no, don't end. Sorry, Corey. It's got to happen, man. We've run out of content, but you can feel free to go back to the start of the stream and watch it from the start because there's a lot of good stuff in there that you may or may not have ever heard of. But yeah, please like the video. Tell all your friends to
give
subscribe to
Dean a
Comics Play.
sub, man. If you're not subbed, definitely like it, but also give him a sub.
Yeah, I need
This is
2
a lot of
more,
fun,
and then
man.
I'm at 2 more subs, and I'm at 1280. So let's get it to 1.28. That would be nice.
Absolutely. It's
But
always
yeah.
great talking comics, Dean. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. You're doing something really special over here. I appreciate it. I know the chat does too. And man, I got one question for you. When can you give me a date for the Embrace 2? Because I'm salivating over here, just waiting.
I can give you a rough. I mean, I know the date, but I don't think I'm allowed to announce it yet. But it is
Oh.
within 3 weeks.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I can't give anyone the exact date or anything, but it's like 3.5 weeks away. Because, like, I'm sure Odin wants to be involved in the announcements and everything like that. But I
It's
recently
Odin.
asked him
He's
that.
busy with stuff.
Just the other day, I asked him that, and I was like, "When are we doing this?" And so the Embrace 1 is like going to Kickstarter soon. You'll be able to get the Embrace 1 on the Embrace 2 campaign, but like, he's trying out the Kickstarter whole thing as well.
Hell yeah.
And that's going live, and then he's going away for work, and then he's coming because his job sends him all around the world. It's actually a pretty sweet job, but it's really difficult for him to do. But he's going somewhere else. I can't remember where he's going. And then as soon as he gets back, we're launching that day. So it's like 3.5 weeks away from now. And Angela says, "Will I send it to America?" Yes, of course. 99% of my followers and subscribers and everything are from America. So of course I will. I wouldn't do that to you guys. So yeah. Yeah. CIA? No, I am not, I'm not allowed to divulge that information. That's need to know information, Angela. But yeah, please like, subscribe, become a member and all that. Do the whole thing. Everything that I've mentioned a few minutes ago. Sign up for the Embrace 2, which is coming soon. Go subscribe to Jeremy's second channel. What's it called, Aldous? Where the gutter is?
You can go to the gutter at or you go YouTube and then at _gutter to subscribe to the backup channel. You can go to Lord Crackhead Comic Talk. That's also that's where we stream live currently on Fridays, but things are going to start changing. We're going to do more on our backup channel. And then I actually just passed 1,000 subs on my own channel, which is YouTube
Nice.
at Aldous on the Farm. I haven't done anything since July of last year, but I'll be kicking that back up and finishing up my Shadow 1930s radio run. And then I'm going to
They
be
were
doing
great,
some
man.
different stuff over there. We're going to be doing some good stuff on the actual pulps and doing some history on pulp magazines, probably coming into 2025. So
I've watched basically every video on your channel. Like, and it's honestly great, man. All the old Superman stuff was my favorite thing to watch at one point, for real.
yeah, I just got a great book on the history of Fleischer cartoons, and there's going to be some good stuff coming
Oh,
on
nice.
not just Superman, but also Popeye and a bunch of other stuff. If you're a fan of the 1930s Gulliver's Travels film that they did, that was heavily rotoscoped, Absolutely fantastic stuff. It still amazes me that the absolute best animated Superman was from them. Like it is
Right?
just unreal that
That has barely aged a day, honestly. That is such a good show, like movie, cartoon, whatever you want to call it. You know, like I've watched it on YouTube. It's just like one long video a million times.
oh, it doesn't get any better than it, man. And honestly, like we were talking about the nostalgia. No, this is truly it was a better time. Like I don't know
Yeah, no,
where I don't know
I
where
don't
the
have any
highway
nostalgia for that.
diverged, but Jesus, man, we missed out because when you watch animation today and you watch animation from 1940 and the animation from 1940 is better, you just got to go like, what the fuck?
What happened, right? Honestly. Like Japan are kicking our asses with anime. Mo's gonna hate that I said that, but it's true. Their animation is just leagues ahead of ours. I don't know why. It never used to be. We used to be about the same. But all of a sudden we just started fucking around in the West with all the crappy animation that we do and all the same designs and the bean mouth and all that. What's that stuff called, guys, in the chat? I can't remember. But
That's
a lot of
Cal
it was
Yeah.
Cal Arts, that's it. It just looks terrible. It honestly looks terrible.
But it
If that
started
was the
even beyond
cartoons that were out when I was a kid, I would
it
have never
started
got
even
to
before
drawing.
that, man. It just there was a slip. And you can go and the original there's still good stuff. Like I liked the new DuckTales. I watched it with the kids and we dug it. It was a great in fact, it was a great story because the story was netted episode to episode. And so it was really good. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, 2 seasons, really good animation, great storytelling. There's moments where the West is hitting it, but
Scooby-Doo was really good.
overall, it's a failure. And even then, with those 2 examples that I gave, like those don't seem like natural progressions for where we were. And I think that's the
Yeah,
biggest
that's true.
shame when you go back and you watch those Supermans, especially from
Hell.
Fleischer. But
Even
yeah, man,
going back
I
to
won't
my
take up any more of
childhood
your time.
too.
I appreciate you having me on,
No,
man.
no, you're right, man. But like, you're right what you're saying about cartoons and everything. Because like, even in my childhood, we had better things. Like Batman of the Future. I nearly said Batman Beyond because that's what it was called in Australia. It's called Batman Beyond because they thought Batman of the no, it was called Batman of the Future because Batman Beyond was too confusing for Australians apparently. Which
Well,
I
that's
don't even.
understandable. I mean, you're just a British penal colony. We don't
I
hold on
guess.
to too much.
But yeah, so but Batman Beyond Return of the Joker still has some of my favorite animation in a Warner Brothers movie. And it's like that thing's like 20 years old now. Why is that so much better than than the new DC animated movies that they're making? It's because someone in the chat said it a second ago. They used to think of animation as a form of like an artwork, as a craft. It was Henry. He viewed animation as a craft back then. They don't anymore. They're just trying to cut corners anywhere they can. So, oh well. But yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. Become a member, like, subscribe, all the things, and we will see you guys again shortly. Appreciate all of you for showing up. Dragon Ball Z is the shit, Corey. I fucking love Dragon Ball Z, and I always will.